Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hello Dave with Down to Earth Astronomy. Before we get into all the news, there are a lot of news this week, especially in Elite, but also Fracture Space. They have not been quiet over there. I just want to give you a quick update on what's been going on related to the channel. It's been a pretty quiet week, to be honest. Apart from last weekend, where I had my first drive failure on my NAS. And in case you don't know what a NAS is, it's a network attached storage, which is essentially a separate computer where you have a load of hard drives in it. And then all these hard drives are mapped together to form one big hard drive that you can then access over the internet or over your local network if you're so inclined. And one of the drives failed on me. It simply just died out. And was just not responding anymore. But luckily, and thanks to the guys who made FreeNAS, because it's an operating system, and the way it works is that the drives are arranged in such a way that you have redundant arrays or redundant drives. I don't want to get this too technical, but basically, first drive failure. So this means it was also my first time actually trying to change a drive in a NAS. And it worked flawlessly. It was so easy to do. You just go into the system and you find the serial number on the dead drives, you locate it in the system, pull it out, put it in a new drive, and it was great. It's very easy, and then just give the computer some time to sit there and remap that drive and make sure that it restores all the data that needs to be going on that drive. So that was very good. I'm very happy that was so easy. Already got new spare drive, so I make sure that I always have a separate drive lying around just in case something fails. The server can operate with a drive down. It can actually operate with 2 drives down, though I would never really want to get into that situation. But it can function, and I have still have access to all my data. So that's nice to see that that is working as intended, because of course I've never really had a proper test of that. So that was good. So let's get into the news, and let's start with Elite Dangerous, and settle in, because this is gonna take some time, because oh my god, they have been busy over at Frontier, and I don't even know where to start. But I guess the elephant in the room is the whole 2.4 and the aliens or Thargoids returning, all that stuff. So to get everything started, basically what was told during the E3 event, I think they had like a closed door event for the press only. Why they wouldn't release this news themselves, I don't know. But regardless, they had this event, and the press was apparently told some information during that event that all the weapons in the game are not going to be effective against Thargoids. And the Frontier has been quoted to saying that, well, human weapons are built to kill humans, and means they're not effective against Thargoids. Which it's a little cheap, I think. I mean, come on, I don't care. I mean, Thargoids are supposed to be organic, if I recall correctly. So the ships are organic. The ships are supposed to be organic. And I don't care what kind of technology you use, but if I'm firing a 200 kilogram shell at 1,000 meters a second at you, you better have some damn good shields, otherwise that thing's going to rip you a new asshole. So, so I don't know. I guess this is something they're doing for the gameplay, and I want to get into that in a bit, because I should do it now, because, well, what I'm afraid of is that what they're gonna do is they're gonna introduce a new grind. I really don't hope that whatever modifications we have to do to our ships to make them workable against Thargoids, that will just be a completely new grind. You'll have to start all over, re-engineering weapons. I mean, it depends on how they're introducing it. And I'll get back to that, because if they're introducing it like new weapons or just new engineering modifications or something like that, that means basically that you have to completely rework your whole ship, because you will need new weapons or new engineering modifications if there's going to be a special modification on the weapons that works against Thargoids. I don't know. But it's just going to make everything, you have to start everything all over again. And I really don't hope they're going to do that, because at the end of the day, Elite is a premium game. You pay a pretty hefty price up front when you buy the game. And to do that in a game where you then just go in and grind, I mean, I can see that in a free-to-play game. That makes sense. I mean, you want to keep people coming back and you work by microtransactions, but this is not really... Oh, well, they do use microtransactions as well, but you get my point. But anyway, I don't know. We don't really know how they're going to implement it. We know that they're going to implement new weapons and new modules, new devices. But what I hope they're going to do is they're going to allow people to keep their ships and their combat ships in their current state, and then introduce some kind of device, maybe a scanner, a jammer, something you can use to, like a frequency modulator that by some kind of magic destabilizes the enemy, the Thargoid shields, so we can actually have our weapons be effective against them, or can actually penetrate their shields, or whatever. Something like that. That would be great, because then you would have to go out and get those modules, and then getting that module could then maybe be not just something you would pick up on a station, so maybe it's something you have to build. So they would have a little bit of gameplay around getting that module without it being too grindy. But again, I guess time will show. And they're also going to introduce new types of armor. As far as I know, again, we're not really sure what's gonna happen here. But they did actually release during the LiveCon. They did release some new images of all this stuff, and they look pretty neat. Looked like some kind of missile launches. They also showed different devices that we don't really know what does at the moment. But some of them do look like a kill wound scanner, kind of ish. So I guess if it would be some kind of a scanner or some kind of a jammer, I don't know. I mean, this is all speculation at this point. But during the LiveCon event, there was also a lot of other very interesting news. And especially if you're an explorer, if you like going up there and doing exploration, there's going to be some very interesting features coming in 2.4. And that includes hull repair limpets. So basically limpets you take on board, you have a limpet controller, and then fire, and they can then repair either other people's ship or your own ship. And basically repair your hull. So now you have the auto field maintenance unit, which repairs all your modules, and you can now have limpets that repairs your hull, which basically means there are nothing stopping you from just staying out there forever, because they're also going to introduce a new synthesis that you can now synthesize limpets. So you can basically just go down to planet services, collect materials you need to build your own limpets right there in empty space, and then have them repair your ship if you have the right equipment. Which basically means now there are absolutely nothing that's going to stop people from staying out there indefinitely. You don't really have to go back for repairs ever again. That's pretty cool. I like to see that they're beginning to work with the already existing elements instead of adding new stuff. It's cool to see that they're working with the existing elements in the game and trying to improve upon it. So now we just need more SRVs, I guess, because we want more SRVs than just the single one that we have at the moment. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that, and especially if you like exploration, it's gonna make it a lot more interesting, and giving explorers something else to use all their optional internal slots for. So, talking about the suicide winder. If you don't know what the suicide winder is, basically if you have been a bad boy and you've been committing a lot of crimes, you've got a lot of bounty on your head. Today, what some people do is they take a sidewinder, fly outside the station, they get killed by system forces, and lo and behold, your bounty is gone. Frontier wanna get rid of this. So what they're doing is now the rebuy costs that you would have to pay when you get killed. So if you have a bounty, the rebuy cost after you get killed, whether you have a bounty, will be will not only be the bounty that you had, but it will also include, it will also not be the bounty, yeah, I could do that, but it will also be the rebuy cost of the largest ship that you used, or the most expensive ship that you used, doing a crime. So if you've been flying around in your Corvette and been shooting up people left and right, and you've got lots of bounty on your head, and you then go out and kill yourself in a Sidewinder, you would have to pay the rebuy cost of the Corvette, even though your Corvette was actually never destroyed. So I don't know how I feel about it. I guess it's okay. I've never really seen the Suicide Winder thing being a problem, but I guess it's nice to see they implement something like this. And now that we're talking about bounties, if you commit a crime in 2.4 against another player, you're not only going to get the normal local bounty for being a pirate in the system you're in, you are also going to get a global bounty. And remember, this is only when you commit crimes against other players. Then you're going to get a bounty with the Pilot Federation, and that of course is going to be available in every single system. So that's going to make your life a hell of a lot more difficult if you have a bounty. Okay, one more thing, and like I said, a lot of stuff going on in Elite. The engineering glitch. Most of you, I guess, would have heard of this by now, but there has been, apparently for a long time, a glitch when you engineered modules that allowed you to get a grade 5 upgrade, but only paying with grade 1 materials, which basically meant that you could just go and grab those grade 1 materials, which are often very, very easy to get your hands on, and then just keep rolling your grade 5 over and over and over again for as many times as you want. And I guess it's nice to see that finally what they've done is they have taken all the people who have been using this exploit and they rolled back. They completely removed their engineering modification, regardless of whether the last modification that they used or they got was they did that legitimately, or they just did it with the exploit. If you have been rolling on a specific module with that exploit, that modification will just been removed outright. That means some PvP groups which have been using this quite substantially pretty much now have stock ships with no engineering modifications because they've just been using this exclusively. And it's interesting. It's the first time we see Frontier actually taking direct actions against somebody using this exploit in the game. And I guess that begs the question, where do they put the line? Is this a new style for Frontier where they're gonna hit people hard when they use exploits? Or is it just this specific case that they think are more severe than others? Because there were no actions taken from Frontier with the whole Quinn's thing, with the passenger missions where you go to one beacon and then complete missions from 2 different beacons at once. Because it just gave you credits. But I guess it's because the Frontier knows that today credits are not really... it helps you get the largest ships, for sure, but if you really want to be competitive against other players, you need those engineering modifications. And so I guess that's why they are looking a little bit more harshly on people exploiting engineering than just exploiting for money. I don't know, it might also be that this is a new style, and if there was a bug or exploit like the one in Quinn's in the future, they might also be taking actions against that. We don't know, but I guess time will show, because I'm pretty sure we will see more bugs and exploit in the game in the future. So yeah, moving on to Fractured Space. I talked about in the last week's episode of Hello Dave that there was some lag in the game after the recent update. That was removed very quickly. It was actually removed before the last episode went live. But of course, this being recorded previously, before it was removed, it was not included in the video. But in Fractured Space, Edge Case Gaming have been very busy working on testing new ways to make queuing time shorter, especially in PvP. They've already introduced the Quickplay game mode, which is essentially a game mode where you play against pretty exclusively NPCs. And I guess it's just to try and make a game mode that works a little bit better. They're now working on PvP and getting the queue times down for PvP, and what they're doing now is they're trying a version of the matchmaker that will try to put in AI captains in a PvP match in case they cannot get the number of players they need to actually start the match. So I guess it's a double-edged sword for Edge Case Gaming, because the reason why the queuing times are so long is because there are not that many players playing Fractured Space. And there are not that many players playing Fractured Space because the queuing times are so long. So, as you can see, it's a catch-22. So it's good to see that if they reduce the queue time, I'm pretty sure that will mean that more people will maybe come back if they're lucky, or the players who actually start the game will stay in the game for longer, because you can easily get in and you don't have to sit down and wait for 5 minutes every time you want to play a fight. And they've been trying lots of different things, and right now it feels like they're just trying things out and seeing how people react. And I kind of like that approach, instead of going through a lengthy process with having a beta server, let people run on the beta server, test a new change, implement it on the main server, see how it works live, and then reworking it. It's a slow process. I like the thing that the approach they're taking here, where you just do it server side, so just change the matchmaker's server side on their end, and just do it live, just right away. That they have done, I think, 2 or 3 changes during this week. They have been very busy, and they're just trying different things out live on the server, and just taking feedback from people, see what people like, what people don't like, what works, what doesn't, and then they're able to adjust very quickly. So that means they're gonna be able to get to a workable solution a lot quicker, which is nice to see, because there's nothing worse than having a very, very, very needed update being delayed due to the process of development. One last thing that they have implemented is you can now go into the menu, and you can now enable experimental features. So that means, and this goes back to the whole thing that they're testing stuff on the live server. You can now go in and you can enable these experimental features, and when you do that, you get access to some of these things that they're testing out. For instance, right now they're testing this 3 versus 3 conquest mode, game mode, and it's basically a team match. So you team up with 2 of your friends, so you have a team of 3 players, and you'll then be matchmaked against another team of 3 players, and you'll then play against that other team. So there'll be no random guys, there'll be no NPCs, it'll just be 3 versus 3 frontline conquest mode, and pretty cool. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if that's something they're gonna keep working with. I don't know if this is to try and see how it would work if they have fewer players in the match. I feel like 5 would be too much space in the current version of Conquest if they reduced the number of players. Oh wow, camera. Sorry. I completely lost it there. Anyway, so I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see how that plays out. I'm gonna try and get some people together, and we'll see what how it works. Also, in last week, I said if you have any questions, post them down below, and of course, some of you did. And well, I'm glad, and I'm gonna try and answer some of them today. And again, if you have any questions you want to ask about like the channel or about any of the games, my opinion on anything, just post them down below, and I'll try to include them in the next episode. And I think I'm gonna try and keep this a weekly thing. I was talking last time that I didn't know how often I would do this video, and I'm gonna try to see if it's gonna work as a weekly thing. I'm still not really sure if there's going to be enough content, but looking at this video now, approaching what looks like 20 minutes soon, I guess that's not going to be a problem. But into the questions. Deeper Darkness asked what my opinion was to a peaceful approach with communicating with the Thargoids compared to a more aggressive approach. And as I've stated before, I think it would be great if we could at least try to do a peaceful approach with the Thargoids, but I think it's not going to happen because lots of people are very excited to get out and shoot up some Thargoids, and I can completely understand that. And I would imagine that the Thargoids are pretty fucking pissed at us after the whole genocide thing that we did to them, pretty much trying to wipe out their whole race. Almost did it. So I guess they're going to be pretty pissed at us and not really that keen on talking. But I hope that there's going to be some way that we get the opportunity to at least try and go for a diplomatic solution. How they're gonna do it, I don't know. I hope they're gonna do it with the already implemented community goal system. So there will be 2 competing community goals. One being that we are going for an aggressive approach towards them, and one being that we're gonna try to go for a more peaceful approach towards the Thargoids. Because I don't think they're gonna allow people that a single person can pick and choose what side they want to talk or what they want to fight for. I think whatever we do, we have to do it as a community. So we'll have to decide as a community as a whole what we're going to do. And then the easiest way to do that would be to make a community goal, 2 competing community goals, where you could figure out what side you want to go for, and stuff like that. So interesting to see what that's going to happen, and especially because they have said that 2.4 is going to be a stepped release. So instead of like having everything available at launch, it's going to be like a stepped release where stuff will be released along the way. Going back to the weapon and all the systems, I guess it's going to be like an arms race where we're going to try and get the necessary equipment that we're going to need for a possible encounter with the Thargoids. And maybe there will be some community events where whether we as a community can choose which kind of what kind of weapons or of modules that will be available to us. So if we are sorry about that. So as I said, if maybe there's going to be like competing community goals, where we as a community can choose whether we want to have one device or another device, and maybe one device would be an offensive device that we can use to shoot them and kill them, and another device could be one that could maybe be used to defend ourselves, which would of course be better in case you want to go for a peaceful approach. So you kind of see how that could work. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. But anyway, we just passed 20 minutes and it was way longer than I expected. So I think I'm going to leave this video here. Again, remember, any questions, leave them down below and I'll try to take them up in the next week. So thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.